Okay, in this lecture video, we're going to see how to use SAS to perform the Kruskal-Wallace test. And what we're going to find is that the code to do this is very, very familiar. Okay, so just to refresh our memories, this is back from example 3.4. So comparing three methods of teaching a foreign language. So a foreign language educational researcher conducted an experiment to determine whether there was a difference in three methods for teaching a foreign language to children 6 years of age. 6 10-year-old children of similar backgrounds were randomly assigned to each of the three teaching methods. At the end of a 6-week period, the children were given identical standardized exams. The exams were scored, with high scores indicating greater proficiency in the language. Because of attrition, 7 students finished the method, finished method 1, 8 children finished method 2, and 6 children finished method 3. And it was, again, it's important to note that the attrition was deemed to be unrelated to performance. All right, and so here are the data. And the question of interest, is there sufficient evidence at the 0.05 level of significance to conclude that the three methods differ in terms of the effectiveness for teaching a foreign language? All right, so the null hypothesis is that the three methods are equally effective for teaching a foreign language against the alternative that the three methods differ in effectiveness for teaching a foreign language. So at least one of the methods is different than the others in terms of effectiveness. All right, so this is a test that involves the comparison of three groups, three populations, three methods. All right, and so we're going beyond what the Mann-Whitney test, as we've seen it, is capable of, and so that's why we need the Kruskal-Wallace test. Okay, so here is the SAS program, and again, it's very short, right? The bulk of the program contains the data for, or the code for inputting the data, and then we've got the portion down here for performing the Kruskal-Wallace test, and let me zoom in on that. And lo and behold, look, we're going to use the same procedure, all right, to perform the Kruskal-Wallace test as we did to perform the Mann-Whitney test. We invoke proc npar one way, and notice that we're also specifying the Wilcoxon option here, and but everything else is the same. We've got a class statement that identifies the variable that differentiates the three groups, in this case the three methods. All right, we use the var statement to identify the response variable or the analysis variable to use. And then this problem is also, it's small enough that we can request an exact test. Okay, now remember when we talked about the Kruskal-Wallace test, we said that we can think of the Kruskal-Wallace test as an extension of the Mann-Whitney test. Or equivalently, we can think of the Mann-Whitney test as a special case of the Kruskal-Wallace test. And so because of that, all right, that's why we're using the same procedure to perform the Kruskal-Wallace test that we use to perform the Mann-Whitney test. Because if you're doing a Kruskal-Wallace test on data that only has two groups, okay, that's equivalent to doing a Mann-Whitney test. So there's nothing new here. All right, so that's great. And so here's the first table of results. So we have our sample sizes, 7, 8, and 6. We have the rank sums for the three samples. All right. And then here is the output. So when we have more than two groups, all right, this is the table of p-values that we get. And we can see that it specifically says the Kruskal-Wallace test. And note that it gives us the value of the test statistic, chi-square test statistic, 10.7926. All right, this test is based on 2 degrees of freedom, and the approximate p-value is reported. It's 0.0045, and we're also able to obtain the exact p-value of 0.0015. So numerically, the difference is not big between these two p-values, the approximate and the exact p-value, but the relative difference actually is quite large, right? This is 3 times larger than the actual p-value. All right. Okay. Now, again, this slide was copied from example 3.4 when we did this by hand. All right. And when we did it by hand, we can, and when I say by hand, using that spreadsheet that we constructed, right? So using that spreadsheet, and using the steps outlined in the notes or in the lecture video, our calculated value of the test statistic using the spreadsheet was 10.7926. Well, that is exactly what SAS computes. So again, we're doing a very good job of getting the right answer, right? And so since that, and when we did this by hand, right, instead of calculating a p-value, which we really can't do because we are restricted to a chi-square table as opposed to a chi-square program, we use the test statistic critical point method, and the critical point was 5.991, and so since the value of the test statistic exceeds that critical point, then we reject the null hypothesis. But if we were using the p-value method, for example, if we're using a 0.05 level of significance, which we are, then because the p-value here is less than 0.05, then we know that we would reject. All right, and so there is sufficient evidence at the 0.05 level of significance to conclude that the three methods differ in terms of their effectiveness for teaching a foreign language. Now, for this Kruskal-Wallace test, as implemented by Proc-NPAR one way, again, we do get this nice graph showing the side-by-side box plots for the scores for the three methods. And if we looked at this, we would say, yeah, it looks like there's definitely differences. We can see the p-value down here for the test, 0.0045. And again, that's the approximate p-value. And if we had to rank the three methods in terms of their effectiveness, we'd say that method 1 is the most effective, and then method 2, and then method 3. Now, whether or not, these are all different, right? Remember we did pairwise comparisons, and so we would have to go back to that to get the final answer. But certainly, based on the graph, that's what that looks like. Okay, so that is the end of example 3.4, all right? And we see how easy it is to implement these analyses in SAS, very easy. And we also see that we're getting the same results that we got when we did it by hand. Okay, the next example, 3.5, this is an example where we are comparing the lifetimes of 4 brands or 4 types of automobile tires. All right, so a consumer reporting organization, for example, maybe the organization Consumer Reports. You've seen their magazines and they compare products. They have conducted an experiment to compare the lifetimes of 4 brands of automobile tires in order to make recommendations. To do this, 24 automobiles were available and used for the study. To each of the 4 tire brands, 6 automobiles were randomly assigned and equipped with that brand of tire. The cars were then driven until the tires were deemed to be in need of a replacement using an objective criterion of wear and safety. And so the lifetimes of the tires are found on the following slide. All right, so here we have the data, all right, so the mileages and so forth. And so these are in thousands of miles, obviously. So the question is there sufficient evidence at the 0.05 level of significance to conclude that differences exist among the 4 brands of tires? Okay, so you can see that I've copied and pasted these from previous slides because not only, because I've copied the typos as well. Okay, so anyway, so the null here are the hypotheses for the test. The null hypothesis being that the lifetimes of the 4 tire brands are the same against the alternative that differences in the lifetimes of the 4 tire brands exist. Okay, so before we did this using the Kruskal-Wallace test implemented in a spreadsheet. At least that's how I did it. I assume that you did it that way, or you may have computed things just on your calculator and writing them down. I don't know. I suspect that you created a spreadsheet, or you may have written a program in a language. That's fine. Here's how we do it in SAS. So again, we enter the data, all right, in our data step, and then down here at the very bottom, all right, I've got Proc-NPAR one way. So again, I identify the classification variable, the variable that differentiates the groups, in this case the tire types, or the tire. I could have used brand here, but I used the variable type. Go back up here, you can see here that I'm using type right there. And then we identify the response variable, the analysis variable. Now, notice that I have not used exact Wilcoxon because the data set in this example is a little bit too big for that. If we ask for the exact test, SAS is going to continue going, because it takes a long time for it to generate that. So we're not going to do that, but we really don't need it. Okay, so here's the first table of results. We have our sample sizes. They're all the same, sample sizes of 6. We have the rank sums for each of the samples. And then we can look directly at the p-value table. We've got the test statistic value here, the degrees of freedom associated with the test. Remember, it's the number of groups minus 1 in this case, so 4 minus 1 or 3. And then the p-value for the test in this case is, and this is an approximate p-value, is 0.0373. Okay, and so going to the next slide, again, this is showing us here, this slide was copied from when we did this by hand. And when we did it by hand, using the spreadsheet, we got a test statistic value of 8.4682, and that is exactly what SAS gets. So again, we see that we have faithfully implemented the algorithm. We've done it correctly in that spreadsheet. And the critical point, remember when we use the spreadsheet, we don't have the ability to calculate the p-value like SAS does, and so at least not the way we've implemented it. The way we're approaching it then is to use the test statistic and critical point method. The critical point for this test was the 0.05 level of significance was 7.815. And so since the value of the test statistic is greater than 7.815, we reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the alternative hypothesis is true. And so there is sufficient evidence at the 0.05 level of significance to conclude that differences exist in the lifetimes of the 4 tire brands. Now we also attempted to get, well, not attempted, we did, we got an approximation to the p-value. And when I say an approximation, we found an interval within which the p-value is contained. And so we said that note that for the critical point, let's see, the critical point for an alpha equal to 0.025 level of significance is 9.348. And because the value of our test statistic, 8.4682, is not greater than that critical point of 9.348, at the 0.025 level of significance, we would fail to reject the null hypothesis. Okay? And so since we reject the null hypothesis at the 0.05 level, but we fail to reject it at the 0.025 level, it must be the case that the p-value for the test is greater than 0.025 and less than or equal to 0.05. So we're able to get a bounds on the p-value. Well, the p-value is 0.0373, and that is greater than 0.025, I'm sorry, greater than 0.025 and less than or equal to 0.05. So you see, this shows that we did this correctly. All right, and then we get this nice graph, side-by-side box plots of the rank sums for the 4 types. And again, the p-value, 0.0373, tells us that there are differences somewhere. It doesn't tell us where the differences are, but based on this graph, we can see that it looks like tire types A and B are not different. There's no evidence for a difference there. They do look to be somewhat different, a little bit different than type C, but is that observed difference significant? Well, we'd have to follow-up pairwise comparisons, wouldn't we? But it does certainly look like types A and B are different than type D. All right, so type D looks to be different than types A and B. Type D looks to maybe be different than type C. C does not look to be too terribly different from A and B, although, to get final answers for all that, we would have to go do the pairwise comparisons, which we know how to do because we did that by hand. Okay, so that is the end of example 3.5, and so I'm going to stop the video here, and we've got one more example to look. The other analysis we're going to do is the Friedman test, all right, and because that that is, remember, that's a little bit different. We're still doing an ANOVA-like comparison, but that's for a different design. That's for a different design than the Kruskal-Wallace test does. The Kruskal-Wallace test is the non-parametric analog of an analysis of variance when we have an experiment that has a completely randomized design. The Friedman test is the non-parametric analog of ANOVA when we have an experiment that is a randomized complete block design. So because it's that different design, and therefore it's a different test, I'm going to put that in a different video. Okay, so this ends this particular video.